And it's 4 p.m. We're bringing you the developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon.
And here the headlines is Monday, March 18. President Bongbong Marcos condemns what he calls a cowardly ambush that led to the deaths of 4 soldiers in Maguindanao del Sur on Sunday. He assured justice for the fallen troops and directed immediate assistance to their families. So the soldiers were returning to their patrol base from a supply run when they were ambushed by suspected members of Dawla Islamiyah.
Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri is reviewing the response of Apollo Quiboloy to Senator Risa Hontiveros' push for the pastor's arrest. We're also closely watching developments at the House of Representatives where an arrest warrant on Quiboloy could be released anytime. Quiboloy was cited in contempt by Congress over alleged abuses and violations within his ministry and the broadcast arm, SMNI. Meanwhile, U.S. State Secretary Antony Blinken is scheduled to arrive in Manila today. This will be his second trip to Manila. He will be discussing peace and security matters with President Bongbong Marcos.
And the Atin Ito coalition is eyeing another mission to the West Philippine Sea. The group is considering to bring supplies to military personnel and fishermen in Bajo de Masinloc. Atin Ito conducted the inaugural civilian-led mission to the West Philippine Sea in December 2023, but it was cut short due to shadowing of Chinese vessels. And joining us again is Philippine Star Editor-in-Chief Amy Pamintuan. Amy, kamusta ang Monday mo dyan?
Good afternoon. Happy Monday, Ed and Patrick.
Okay, it's a Monday, Amy. Is it a slow news day for the Philippine Star newsroom? What's on the front page layout?
Pareho tayo. We're waiting for any arrest order that might be issued against Apollo Quiboloy. And in the meanwhile, it's interesting, nagkapirmahan na finally ngayon yung the rehabilitation of the NAIA, and ang sabi, there will be another terminal to be built dun daw sa Nayong Filipino area. Yon ang sinabi ng SMC, which of course we know bagged the contract for the rehab and later the operation and maintenance of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. So yun, at least may good news tayo. Baka mawala na. Dumadami yung mga video ng mga bubuit, all sizes na ng rodents ang nakikita natin.
And it's always, it's always Terminal 3, the newest of the 3 terminals there in NAIA, right? Itong mga incidents, itong mga daga, yung mga surot, yung mga, in the past, yung nahuhulog na kisame, tsaka may assassination pa dyan, di ba dati?
Alam mo, suspecha ko kung bakit? Siguro sa Terminal 1, yung mga daga namamatay.
Ba't namamatay?
Masyadong
luma. But in fairness, you know, I just flew out last week. In fairness, Terminal 1 is looking better than it has been in the last 10 or 20 years. Maganda. Maganda ngayon ang Terminal 1. Malinis,
Is it better lit now? Kasi before it was
better lit.
Gloomy.
It's old. It's better lit, and at least it looks clean.
Okay.
It's functioning.
Okay, that's a good
and they have good restaurants.
Talaga?
Oh, you're not limited to instant noodle soup or arroz caldo and cheese pimiento sandwiches in plus. Parang high school. Diba? Maganda Terminal 1 yan.
Pero iniintay namin yung response ng Department of Tourism, because they're in charge of the foundation, yung Nayong Filipino Foundation. Remember, at the height of the COVID pandemic, gusto magpasok dyan ni Enrique Rason ng yung Moderna facility, di ba, for the vaccination, para open daw to the public, at nagkaroon ng di ba, nagkaroon ng misunderstanding with the foundation, ayaw nila. So lumipat eventually yung sila, malapit-lapit dun sa casino na, which is run by the company of Ricky Rason.
Okay.
So yun, hinihintay natin kung anong mangyayari dyan, kasi of course, siguro hindi naman isasabihin nyo ng SMC kung hindi meron ng preliminary talks, no?
Right.
Pero we're waiting for the response of the DOT.
Okay, coincidentally, Amy, we're hearing from SMC Chairman Ramon Ang that hindi naman matutuloy yung Pasig River Expressway naman.
Parex.
Controversial din. Okay? I think he
Yes.
just announced na if there's enough opposition, if there is opposition to the project, then maybe he shouldn't do it. Parang ganon. So he announced that
Well,
he has
actually, ang
announced
understanding ko, in-scrap na niya yan. Precisely because of the opposition nga, there was a strong pushback against it. And one of the architects against it, remember, was Paulo Alcazare, na madalas din nating makausap on One News.
Yeah. Ito yung quote, coming from, this is a story from Rappler, quoting Ramonang, alam mo, ako yung businessman na kapag nakita ko, ayaw ng kababayan natin yung project, hindi ko itutuloy. He said in a briefing on Monday, this is for Parex, which of course is a 19.4-kilometer Pasig River Expressway project traversing Pasig River, connecting Manila, Mandaluyong, Makati, Pasig, Taguig, and Taytay.
It will be also interesting to find out, Amy, Ed, how NAIA rehabilitation will impact another big airport project of the SMC Group in Bulacan. Yung Bulacan International Airport project. I understand it's a very big project. So is it either or tuloy pareho? Yun.
Well, there's a controversy also over, of course, mas malaking controversy dyan sa Bulacan Airport dahil lang nagre-resist dyan mga fisherfolk and other communities in Bulacan. Of course, Ramonang is denying. Sabi niya, hindi naman reclamation niya at wala daw silang kinalalaman dun sa flooding. In many areas, remember, merong mga towns na dyan sa Bulacan na submerged na siya.
Right.
Sabi niya, hindi naman daw yung project niya ang dapat sisihin doon. But anyway, yun ang medyo nakakabagal doon sa kanyang project na yan. But sabi niya, I remember merong isang story last week na he intends to, well, hindi naman he intends, but ang tingin yata ng SMC, pwede nang matuloy by 2025 yung airport project. But we don't know yan. Siguro malilinawan natin yan within the week kung ano nga ang kalalabasan yan. Kasi ang approved pa lang naman na reclamation project among the ones in Manila Bay, yung sa Pasay two projects sa Pasay, kasama na yung development ng SM naman, the SM Group, na ang sinasabi nila hindi naman daw magkakaroon ng malalaking building doon, although connected of course to the SM complex in the MOA.
Right.
Gagawin daw nila yung park and yun ang legacy project daw yan ng C family. They want to give back to the community by developing parks. Yun ang sabi nila. I talked to the guy in charge. Yun ang gagawin daw nila doon, mga parks, promenades, bicycle lanes. At saka lilinisin yung area, magkakaroon ng breakwater para hindi nagbabaha nga doon sa Pasay. We don't know. Pero yun ang sabi nila, it's a legacy project of the C family. Pero yung sa airport, hindi ko alam kung meron ng go signal to continue the project doon. Dahil sinasabi nga ni Ramon di naman reclamation yung sa amin.
Right, oo. And even if ma-rehab yung NAIA, I think Ami, there's still need for I think the runway has to be, I think we need a bigger runway or more runways. Kasi alam naman with the number of flights that are coming in modern airports across the world. We've been to,
basically,
I guess you've been to Hong Kong or Singapore, you've seen how ang daming runways.
Basically, you need runways that are not intersecting.
Not intersecting,
You need parallel runways so that you can use them same time.
Sabay-sabay. O hindi ngayon na
Intersecting
nakaka-backlog.
Hindi ka pwedeng gumamit ng parehong ng dalawang runway pag nag-intersect sila.
Right.
And that's what we
Pero
have right now.
Kung makukuha nila yung area ng Nayong Pilipino, that's 22 hectares, around 22 hectares yata yan Pwede siyang dagdagan ng runway.
Okay.
Na malapit doon. Ewan ko lang, meron pa diyang isang problema, yung merong Philippine Village Hotel There's a private property there na I'm not sure, Ed, anong na-settle na ba yan? There's a controversy dun sa ownership niya na medyo masalimuot yata. I think it belongs now to the Burgundy Properties. It's a private property.
Pero
So,
even if
hindi
you
natin alam kung anong
have,
arrangement.
but Tami, even if you have 22 hectares, it has to be in the right positioning Kasi runway is narrow but long. It's not necessarily wide. So,
the approach to the airport, to the runway, is from the water, di ba? I think
ideally ganon.
And then when you take off, it's
Although hindi parati kasi
inland,
I've had some approaches coming from Laguna Lake So tumatawid siya ng
meron.
Oh, tumatawid siya ng Rizal, tumatawid siya ng expressway. So, kita mo, mga bubong ng mga kotse, gumagana. Anyway, teka, we have a
Baka
guest.
pwedeng smaller planes, di ba? Kung smaller planes sa isang runway lang, baka pwede yan.
That's also a possibility. Anyway, Bok, let's bring in our guest for today.
Yes.
Baka nakabang na si Professor Chester Cabalsa, our security expert, to talk about, of course, yung pagdalaw ni Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. I suppose he's expected to arrive today.
Expected to arrive today and for a meeting with the President, with President Bongbong Marcos.
And we check Manalo.
Mr. Cabalsa?
Yes, Sir Pat, Sir Ed, and Ma'am Amy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Cabalsa,
Yes,
Mr. Cabalsa, this will be the second trip of U.S. State Secretary Anthony Blinken. Dapat na ba tayong kabahan?
Yes. Well, hindi naman. Dahil supposedly, this is the trilateral meeting, no, with the foreign minister counterpart from Japan. Pero kung titignan natin, I think the reason why they do it, dahil nakikita nila yung aggression of China in South China.
Okay.
And secondly, kailangan nilang pagmitingan kung ano yung meets and bounds of the agreement. Remember, we saw the joint patrol of the U.S. and the Philippines recently. There was also a reciprocal access agreement from Japan. Tapos, balak nilang magkaroon ng trilateral agreement amongst the Philippines, US, and Japan. So, ang dami nilang dapat pag-usapan. Because ultimately, agreements pa lang ito, wala pa siyang implementing rules paano nila gagawin.
Okay, Mr. Cabalsa, I'm just wondering about the timing of this visit by State Secretary Anthony Blinken. Is this meant to reassure the Philippines at a time when, number one, China seems to be getting more aggressive in the West Philippine Sea, and number two, that the United States seems to be busy with other matters like Gaza Strip, Ukraine, and also the U.S. presidential elections?
Okay, very good question, sir. I think this is the best time that they will have to forge agreements with the Philippines. Remember, they mentioned na ironclad yung commitment, yung alliance nila with us. And this is the best time that they have to foster that kind of mutual understanding with the Philippines. Secondly, it's best to do it now because China's economy is into recession. So while they are meeting together, I think we have to draw the line on how to forge this kind of alliance with the U.S. Importante rin kasi makita natin dito na lumalawak yung comprehension natin and appreciation natin dito sa alliance natin with the U.S. Because at the end of the day, by November, they will have another, I don't know what will happen if they will retain Biden as the president or we will have the return of Trump as president of the United States.
Mr. Cabalsa, can you explain to us further what you mean by best to do it now, best to do this agreement now at a time when China is in recession? Does this mean to say, are you trying to suggest that China is at this point in a weak position? And this agreement is supposed to what?
Okay, the main point why I am advocating that this is the best time for the U.S. and the Philippines to further other cooperation because of the economic recession right now in China. Because if they see that the Philippine economy is strong, that's a natural deterrent. Meaning to say that China will take it backward in terms of how they would treat the Philippines.
Okay.
Kasi nga ang nakita natin, kapag mahina yung ekonomiya ng Pilipinas, lalo nila tayong binubuli. No? I think this is the best time to show to them the kind of surveillance, deterrence, and resistance that we have with that China is showing to us. Lalong-lalo na naniniwala yung US sa atin at sinusuportahan nila tayo sa ating advocacy when it comes to maritime security.
Okay, conversely, Mr. Cabalsa, are you trying to say na at a point when China's economy is weak, it's the best
Yeah.
time to push back or to fight back or get aggressive with them?
Definitely. Well, that's a natural deterrent, what I said earlier. And I think that is a good response also without doing anything, no? Kasi ang importante dito yung cooperative ability mo to attract other countries without doing anything, no? The mere fact that they are showing aggression and hostility to us, then I think let's move on to the next level. The mere fact that we are drawing bilateral agreements with strong countries, that means na hindi na tayo pusa. No, that means that we are a core and major actor now in the Indo-Pacific. That's the reason why they wanted to forge alliance with us and they want to ink military agreements with the Philippines.
Mr. Cabalsa, on the other hand, meron naman mga
Yes,
nagsasabi because of the economic downturn, the slowdown in China, ang ginagawa nga actually ng Communist Party is to divert, they need to divert yung economic hardships ng tao to something, to nationalism, and what better way to do that than to look at another enemy na nga dito sa South China Sea na magfo-focus sila on the conflict. In fact, there's more focus and they're saying kaya nga daw mas maraming aggressive actions ngayon ng China precisely because of that. Ano namang, what can you say about that observation?
Well, ang tawag ko nga po dyan is wag the dog moment of Xi Jinping. Because of course, it's not only in China that they will be doing that. We saw some examples in the West how they turned around the story para nga ma-divert yung ganitong attention. But definitely, for me, it will not, it's not the design or the indication that the Philippines will feel compelled to stoop down to China. The mere fact, ngayon nga, matatakot ngayon si China sa Pilipinas because they see the collective deterrence that we are showing to them. Our diplomatic networks are widening and definitely our economy is surging in a way. Ito yung mga indicators na hinahanap natin sa Pilipinas for the longest time. And given the transparency of international news at saka yung media ngayon, feeling ko yung ganyang wag the dog strategy ni Xi Jinping, it will not work. Because the people believe that, of course, this is not a long-term solution to this kind of strategy that China is showing to us.
But do you think natatakot ang China if you look at their actions in dealing with our vessels, both private, Coast Guard, and Navy? Mukhang hindi takot yun. In fact, they're becoming more aggressive.
Yeah. But ma'am, ang basa ko dito, gray zone tactic is not a long-term solution. Mapapagod din ang mga yan. I think ours is a more sophisticated strategy. The use of legalist approach, the use of alliances and strategic partnerships, those are long-term investments. Yung ginagawa ni China on gray zone tactics, nag-evolve na nga siya, more into violence na nga yung ginagawa nila. I think that is not even, it will not even redeem them of their actuations. The more the world will castigate their actions, the world will not accept their injustices to us, and of course to the environment, maritime, and of course it will break the maritime rules-based norms. Ang basa ko dito, mas hindi kapanapanalo yung ginagawa nila lalo silang the more people will hate them because of that.
Sir, to that point, but in the end, even if it's short term, we are presented with the fait accompli. They're there, they built islands, artificial islands. You cannot evict them anymore. So it may be short term, but it may end up being the permanent medium term or long term. Yeah,
I agree with you, but we are responding. Our Coast Guard has modernized. We have now a comprehensive archipelagic defense concept that is geared towards territorial defensive strategy. This is the first time that the Philippines is doing this. Actually, I'm writing a book right now on territorial defense kasi first time natin sa strategic culture natin at sa kasaysayan natin na nag-expound tayo on external and territorial defense. No, that is something that we have to look at. The more we will perfect this in the coming years and decades to come, no, it gives us confidence on how to confront China. Thirdly, the mere fact na nagpipivot tayo ngayon sa West, which the rule of the game is rules-based norms or yung norm setting on maritime order. I think in the end, China will stoop down to this, no? Kasi kung ang kanyang pinaglalaban is gray zone tactics and violence, then I think that is not a good precedent, no? If the country wants to become a superpower.
Okay,
Hindi papayag yung international community na yung mamuno sa batas, ang rules natin will be based on violence and hostility.
Okay, meanwhile, Mr. Cabalsa, we're relying on an ally, the U.S., that seems to be too stretched at this point. Stretched and preoccupied with problems in Gaza, in the Middle East, and in Ukraine. Yeah. So, isn't there a downside to this, relying on an ally that is too busy with other problems? And isn't this China's perspective? Aren't they seeing this and taking advantage of this?
Well, they are taking advantage of this, but at the same time, I think, if you try to look at the foreign policy of the Trump administration when he first became the president 6 years ago, he was the one who sized up the Indo-Pacific strategy of the U.S. and had a trade war with the Indo-Pacific strategy of the U.S. and he had the trade war with China. So, in case he wins again the re-election, definitely he will continue with that kind of strategy. He will carve a clearer policy on the South China Sea, and at the same time, this is his moment on how to confront China now.
Okay, Mr. Cabalsa, I just wonder how ready we are. I mean, God forbid that something happens. Okay, no, how ready we are? Are we? Sorry. Given that there are 4 additional EDCA sites, and yet nothing seems to be happening in those sites. Wala masyadong activity or improvement sa mga sites na yun. Are we ready?
Actually, medyo ang alam ko, because of course, I have senior military students. They're quiet about it on the development of the EDCA site. Ayun yung isa sa mga tinitingnan nila na to be so flamboyant about the development in those areas. Right now, they are preparing a lot of strategies. Lalong-lalo na kasi this will be the guiding principles on how to articulate and how to operationalize their actions when it comes to that. No? Continuous yung military modernization natin. I think the current administration will expand the third leg of the AFP modernization, looking at the external defense. I think pinondohan na nila yan at malaki yung pondo natin dito. BrahMos missiles is coming by end of the month. And then there will be possible acquisition of submarines. So in other words, mukhang they are preparing themselves towards that kind of trajectory. At the same time, we are building also a union of alliance with different countries, particularly in Southeast Asia we have Vietnam, and then of course Australia is the strategic partner, and then right now the president from his previous visit to Germany and Czech Republic, I think we are on the right track in doing that. Of course, sa ngayon, hindi pa natin nakikita yung capability because we are still on that line. But however, malaki na ang improvement ng ating AFP. If you try to look at the ranking of the Philippines in the military power ranking around the world. Nag-i-increase na yung ating rank so far. And hopefully, I think there was a good study, a book that came out recently, which I wrote a foreword about it, national security and defense expenditure. Sinasabi dun sa study na yun na the Philippines is so unique in terms of its defense expenditures. Unlike in some other countries where people dislike higher expenditures for military modernization. But here in the Philippines, there is that euphoria, happiness in public investment towards military modernization. No? Ibig sabihin, gusto ng mga tao yung military modernization natin at hindi na yung problema rin dito sa ekonomiya natin. Because in some other countries, nakikita natin yung reverse.
Yes, sir.
No?
Yes, sir.
Habang nag-invest sila sa military modernization nila, bumabagsak yung ekonomiya nila.
Yes, sir. Pero sir, baka naman kaya happy mga tao na gumagastos tayo sa militar natin kasi sobrang baba pa rin ang paggastos natin kumpara sa ibang bansa. I mean, that's also one way of looking at it. I mean, for example, as a percentage of GDP, I think we're pretty low down the scale.
Yes. Yeah, but the mere fact that we were able to convert the minds of the public, yung mindsetting ba, that these are public investments and our intention, the AFP's intention is to protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Philippines, pasok yun sa, sa damdamin ng mga Pilipino. They agree to that, no? And the mere fact that we are seeing also massive recruitment and admission of millennials and alpha generation in the AFP and in the Coast Guard and in the PNP, ibig sabihin, magandang indication ito na naniniwala sila sa defense and security sector natin because of what is happening in the West Philippine Sea. No? So these are good indicators that we try to use it before as a measurement on how we gauge our understanding in the West Philippine Sea. Ibig sabihin ngayon, ang mga kabataan natin, lalong napapataas yung nationalism and patriotism nila because of what is happening in the region. No? And they see that our national security infrastructure and the sectors from defense and security are doing their best to protect our sovereignty and the people.
Okay.
Mr. Cabalsa, the Philippines, ASEAN, the US, even Australia, they keep saying they want the South China Sea to be a zone of peace and stability.
Yes,
and sinabi nga ni President Marcos recently, gusto daw niya to continue pursuing diplomacy and dialogue. Pero can you actually create a zone of peace and stability here without engaging China? Ganyang nagagalit sa atin, nagagalit sa US. Ano kaya pwedeng strategy dyan?
Okay, very good question, ma'am. Sometimes I join track 1 or track 1.5 diplomacy, no? Ito yung mga scholars and some other think tanks. At listening to the Chinese counterparts, no? Meron din silang idea na ganyan. They wanted to build tourism in the South China Sea. Yan yung kanilang gusto rin, no? Because nobody wants war in the first place. So, looking at it, meron namang mga sectors that are looking into that kind of possibility. Pero nga lang, tumataas yung tension because of the reason tactics and at the same time, yung political tension din napakataas. That's the reason why we cannot offer those kinds of proposals. Pero if you try to ask some like-minded people also, they wanted those kinds of ideas, no, yung peace zone territories in the maritime domain. But we'll see what happens later on. No, we need more collaboration. Kaya nga ang gusto natin dito pataasin yung people to people engagement. We wanted our scientists to deal with the South China Sea issue also kasi may mga environmental and scientific and technological aspect yan. and of course lower the tension among politicians and leaders, no. And lastly, I guess, no, ang basa natin dito, kaya nga yung sinabi ko kanina kay Sir Pat na this is the best time, the best momentum on how to tackle this issue because of the economic recession in China. If we can prove to China, alam niyo, yung burden of proof na sa atin palagi yun, if we can prove to China that even without their support, economically and in some other aspects, we can show to them that we can become more respectable nation in the region. Alam ko darating yung araw, irerespeto rin nila tayo, no? Look at what they do in Indonesia and Vietnam. Every time they do incursions in their islands, pinapasabog ng Indonesia at ng Vietnam yung kanilang mga bangka. Pero wala silang sinasabi, no? I hope one day that will happen also to us because of our credible defense posture and because of our economic resurgence. And I know
ang nakaka-complicate niyan sa atin, in our cases, we are a US treaty ally And ang idea ng China in discussing peace and stability in the region, wag daw makialam yung mga hindi naman nakatira dito. So how do you reconcile that with the need to settle these things diplomatically and through dialogue? Ayaw nila na may outside forces ayaw nila yung basta daw hindi dito sa South China Sea, wag niya kaialam.
That's the reason why we need unilateral engagement. Remember, maraming mga claimant countries in the South China Sea. Vietnam is a good example. We just forged a strategic partnership with Vietnam, the only Southeast Asian country na may strategic partnership tayo right now. Umiiwas din tayo to depend so much with the US. That's the reason why pumunta ang ating presidente last year, nagpunta siya sa Belgium. Ngayon nasa Germany siya last week. And then of course now yung mga iba pang makarating kapitbahay natin, like of course we are a good friend of Indonesia. No, that's the reason why this is where multilateralism will work. Kasi nakita natin yung multilateralism na kung saan kasama si US at nagdo-dominate si US dun sa discussions, ayaw nga ni China yung ganun. China wants that exclusive siya. Only those that have concerns on the South China Sea will discuss the issue. So I think we have to lean towards that kind of direction because we don't want to rely so much with the US or with ASEAN, but only to those who have interest in the West Philippine Sea or in the South China Sea. That includes the claimant countries in the South China Sea.
Okay. Maraming salamat, our security expert Chester Cabaza from the National Defense College. Sir, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
You're watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a quick break. We'll be back in a bit.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group. We've got the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Patrick Paez with Ed Lingao and with the Philippine Star Editor-in-Chief, Amy Pamintuan. Amy, Ed.
Okay. Abo, segue naman tayo sa probinsya. Okay, at this point, let's check on news from Cebu and from Bohol, from One News Cebu Desk and the Freeman Editor, Dale Israel. Dale, galing ka ng Bohol. Anong balita dyan?
Yes, maayong hapon, Patrick and Ami. And we have a lot of trending topics here in the Visayas, actually, but we'll just focus here on what's happening in Cebu City. Let's go first with the management of the University of Cebu that has ordered a preventive suspension on a male teacher pending investigation because of a trending video where he told students to inflict self-harm or even jump off a building. The video has over 400,000 views and was originally posted on TikTok, and it's shared on Facebook via a UC Confessions page. The face of the teacher, if you've seen the video, the face of the teacher was not seen on the video clip, but his voice can be heard doing a monologue talking to students that he will be happy if they commit self-harm. He told the students that if they jump off a building, they should record it in a video and shout out his name, and this will make him happy. The teacher was also heard laughing about it at the end part of the video. It was unclear, though, how the discussion started and how it reached such a disturbing topic, since video is only 56 seconds. One thing is for sure, though, this did not sit well with University Chancellor Candice Gotianoy, who announced on social media last Saturday that the teacher was already suspended and could possibly face termination after he due process because of the gravity of such offense. He will not be allowed inside the campus, nor will he be allowed to come into contact with students. Gotianoy also asked guidance counselors from other campuses to help out in the debriefing of students. If I read a portion of her statement, it says that University of Cebu does not condone any act of self-harm, nor the encouragement of such. I am disgusted by the actions of this person. I cannot even call him a teacher. The school is also enhancing their mental awareness programs because of such incidents. You know, for context, UC, or the University of Cebu, is one of the biggest schools in Cebu with over 60,000 students. It is operated by the Go family, who are known to be very religious and supportive of church organizations and activities locally. The school is also the top-notch training for marine engineering and College of Law here in Cebu, and it is a prestigious school with is a powerhouse in athletics, and they count as alumni PBA superstars like Junmar Fajardo, Brian Huruela, and Dondon Ontiveros. Back to you guys.
Well, Bok, for those who have not seen the video, ano yung motivation ng teacher for doing that or saying that online?
Yes. We cannot really tell how the conversation with the students started because it's just a spliced up video. It's just a clip of the entire conversations because the teacher, according to the students, did not allow the use of cell phones, so that's why they had to hide the record while recording the video.
Okay, we're hearing this story, Dale, and all. Dale, we're getting this story just as there's a similar case here in, I think, Manila of a public school teacher, I understand, and who went on TikTok.
Yung pinapagaling
and
mga bata.
the quote from her is, "Ang kakapal na mukha nyo." So there, and we've had I think a while ago in one Balita Pilipinas, interviewed by Joey Francisco, the anchor there, interviewed some teacher representatives from Dignity Coalition of Teachers,
Teachers
Dignity Coalition, and they were standing by the teacher. So I can understand that there's another side to this story, to this very offensive, very triggering, very scandalous video or instances na medyo some teachers are kind of pushed to the wall, maybe.
nai-stress nga. Yun
Nai-stress.
lang, if you read that story yung minention mo, Patrick, sabi niya, naiinsulto daw yata yung teacher, naiinsulto at in fact, that's what the Teachers Coalition said, na do not judge her daw too quickly naman para we have to hear her out, bakit nagkaganon. Napaka-stressful. Usually mga teachers
Right.
mataas ang pasensya na, no? You wouldn't be a
Right.
teacher. Siguro, yan ang sinasabi naman ng mga teachers na tingnan din daw yung side niyang, ayan, yung nakikita natin ngayon.
But
And
Na-
we know
na-
from previous
Yeah.
reports, that one of the problems of Philippine education, which we know is hitting a 99% learning poverty
Yes.
rate, no? Is that medyo hindi na kinakaya ng mga teacher yung disiplina sa mga bata ngayon.
But ano lang, Bok, I'm just wondering bakit napaka-steady ng shot. Para sa naka-tripod eh.
Yeah, I think she was filming herself, Bok. Or
Yeah.
the teacher
Wala
was the one who
pang-
uploaded this video. on
Yeah,
TikTok.
Hindi siya, kinunan siya.
But if that were the case
Kinunan
kasi,
siya nang
then...
pinapagalitan yung mga estudyante na nag-civil service pa daw siya. Ni hindi pa daw nakakaano yung mga estudyante, what they haven't made a name for themselves daw. Ganon medyo parang abuse din yung dating nung nung sentimento niya. So we don't know kung anong pinagmulan. Siguro hintayin natin kung anong nangyari nung nakapagsalita din ng ganyan yung teacher.
Yeah, I pointed
Kasi
out
yun ang
kasi...
sinasabi nga ng teachers group.
Yeah, Bok, I pointed out kasi in this particular case, if it was the teacher nga who did it live, who taped herself with a setup, it's a setup then it's premeditated. It looks premeditated. It looks like she planned it.
Na mag-sermon talaga.
She went
Hindi siya
live.
bugso ng damdamin.
Are you saying it's not?
No, I don't know. I'm just kasi
It was uploaded.
it's-
What we're hearing from our producer right now, it was taken by the
Yeah.
teacher herself, and it was uploaded by her on TikTok. So yeah, maybe she wants to get that message out
Gusto
there.
niyang,
We'll
gusto
just
niyang
quote
ipakita
some more
talaga.
no, what she said in that video is, okay, hindi ako nag-board exam para lang hindi irespeto ng mga
Yeah.
katulad yung wala pa namang nararating sa buhay. Ang kakapal na mukha nyo.
Yes.
Hindi nga ako, hindi na nga kayo matalino, ang sasama pa ng ugali nyo. Wala kayong mararating sa buhay.
Sobra naman yan,
Dagdag pa
sobra
niya.
na yan. Kaya sinuspindi siya ng DepEd and under investigation. Sobra naman yung pagkakasalita, no? Kahit masama din ang loob mo.
Alam mo, Ami, in certain workplaces, we can probably recall
Wala na,
na yung
parang
mga
na niya,
ganyan dialogue o linya rin tayo sa opisina. pero Dave, iba naman yung linya kasi na binitawan ng teacher dyan sa Cebu, sa University of Cebu. Medyo,
iba naman siya.
Tsaka iba rin yung in-upload mo online. Iba yung sa newsroom kayo nagbabangayan.
oo.
Yes.
Wala pa naman TikTok ng panahon natin, Bok.
Teka, alam ni Del yan.
Pero
Del, edit si
na-highlight
Del.
nga yung na-highlight yung It's a mental health issue, That's stress. Kung hindi ko sinasabi si Raulo, pero it's a stressful situation.
Right.
Saka anong nagagawa ng mga schools under those circumstances? Remember, ang sabi sa atin kulang na kulang daw ng mga counselor sa schools. Wala daw tayo psychiatrist. Wala tayong trained counselors, in fact, in most
Teka mo,
schools.
maubos ang oras natin. Si Del nandiyan pa sa linya. Yung Bohol naman daw.
Sige.
Kamusta sabi mo sa Bohol?
Sige, ibang istorya. Bohol na, Bohol.
Yes. In Bohol, I was in Bohol. Yes, I was in Bohol over the weekend for the launching of the Saulog Festival, and also with the 459th commemoration of the Sandugo or the Blood Compact. So might as well. When I was there, I talked with residents, ordinary Boholanos, and apparently most of them are not against the resort, the controversial resort. They supported it. Because it creates jobs, it attracts tourism or tourists, and they said that there's a lot of resorts that are doing the same, and then there seems to be no problem with it.
Okay. So the sentiment on the ground, Dale, is that what's the big deal? Parang ganyan. The sentiment on the ground in Bohol.
That's correct. Yeah. That's what I was talking to some vendors and the tricycle driver. He said that it's better to have more tourists, and they have these resorts where the tourists can be accommodated, and and it would bring in more visitors, and more. If there's more visitors, then there will be more money for them.
Right. That's jobs for the locals. That's revenue for the city government or the municipal government, and for local residents, that's a place to go. That's their perspective there on the ground. And we saw the resolution from the Protected Areas Management Board, and parang may compliance naman, Bok. Siguro ang tanong na lang is...
hindi na na-meet yung primary requisite, which is get the ECC before construction started. That's one of the conditions. Although, ang problema kasi doon, nakabaon eh.
Oo. Pero ang isa sa mga restrictions ng PAMBI is that huwag kayo magtatayo doon sa may bundok mismo. Na parang sinunod naman, nandun sila sa patan.
20% from the baseline, from the base of the hill. But of course, but number 4 down the list, which is curious kasi it's number 4 down the list.
Okay.
Although it is a prerequisite, is for the resort to get a permit and environmental clean certificate.
Yun ang wala. And when we Google map this last week, Bok, we saw that it's not right smack in the middle of the hills or the
but the
protected area.
northwestern edge of Chocolate Hills, although it's still part of the natural monument as they call it.
They're still subject to certain restrictions and regulations. But as Dale, you pointed out last week that there are two kinds. May area na no build talaga at saka may area na pwede basta may ECC, right?
That's correct. That's correct. And we should also take note that there are existing resorts already, aside from Captain's Peak, that are creating viewing decks that are right on top of the hill.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Dale, would you know kung anong klase siyang kapitan? Bakit captain?
Seaman Bok yung Seaman yung may-ari.
Captain Botton Captain Botton
Okay.
Seaman siya, kapitan siya ng ship. Hindi siya tunay na, wala siyang rango. Hindi siya kapitan ng piloto or whatever. She's a ship captain, tama ba yun?
Yes, he's a ship captain, a retired ship captain, and he invested on this. What I heard was they invested over 10 million for this resort.
Dale, by any chance
Were you able to talk to some officials? Kasi sabi nila anong sabi nila? Well, they are not aware na may requirement na ECC kasi 2019 pa tong resort na to eh.
Yes. I was only able to talk to provincial officials because I wasn't actually on Tacbayan. I was just limited in Tagbilaran City. But then the provincial official said that there could be a workaround on the design of the resorts, which would blend in with nature.
Yes.
Yeah. For example, yung pool pwedeng kulay green. Huwag mo lalagyan ng chlorine para may kulay green.
Hindi kasi Ed, yung isa daw provision, do not deface the mound.
Yeah. That's also
so,
in the
ang nakadikit dyan sa mound, yung slide nakikita natin, yung ilang umbrella saka yung slide. Actually, hindi na yun yung ground nasa mound na yun.
Okay.
So, ayun.
But I think kami
yung
restriction is up to 20% only from the base. So kung 20%, 150, pwede pa siyang pumasok dun sa 150. But anyway, also kasi dun sa permit kasi sinasabi na it has to blend with the environment. So I suppose part of it is the color.
Kung all green yan po, pwede.
Kung all green yan, ganyan katingkad ang dating.
Depende sa perception mo yan, nakaka-blend ba yan? Gusto ng mga tao, maganda yung pool decoration, accent ng mound.
With bright colors.
Paano?
Okay, dali lang. Ami po, nagmamakawan yung director natin, producer natin na medyo, we have to end early today, Dale. Okay, Ami, because we have a new show coming up soon.
Oo. The one and only, our one and only, si Paps.
Si Paps,
Paps J. Taro.
But on the other channel, on 1PH. Okay. Dale Israel, maraming salamat. Thank you for your time.
Daghang salamat.
That
Thank
was
you, Dale.
One News Desk, Cebu Desk, and Freeman editor Dale Israel.
Okay. Baka mag-overtime pa tayo.
Okay.
Once we start, tapos so bumitaw na tayo. Baka magalit sa atin si Direk. Maraming salamat, Amy Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief ng Philippine Star, for joining us this afternoon. Monday na Monday pa lang, so siguro hanggang Biyernes ka.
Thank you, Ed and Patrick.
Thank you, Mo. So join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Patrick Paez. We are One News, all sides, all the time. This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.